So maybe you got yourself a new synthesizer and you're looking at it thinking, I would really love to learn this thing. I would love to get good at it, but I don't know how it works. And figuring it out by reading the manual is really hard. And really, I would just love to start having fun on this thing. How can I get to the place of first not knowing my synthesizer, then having fun on the synthesizer so that then later I can master the synthesizer? That fun part in the middle, very important, because a lot of people will tell you that you just have to read the manual, which is like the most boring thing in the world to just start reading a document when you have a tool in front of you and you want to start having fun. So I want to offer you a mental model, which I'm going to call the crossroads of joy on a synthesizer. And if you can find the crossroads of joy on your synthesizer, that's a great place to start messing around and having fun. And then from there, maybe learning the specific functionalities and reading the manual, etc. But let's look at this mental model first. Let's have a look at the crossroad of joy. I'm going to explain it first, then I'm going to show it on the synthesizer that I'm very familiar with. And then I'm going to do it again on a synthesizer that I've never touched so that we can together go through the thought process as it's happening. But what is the crossroad of joy? The crossroad of joy is where you figure out how to make a short sound, or a long sound, or a bright sound, or a dark sound. Pretty simple idea, but if you can get into a position where you can easily change the parameters to make a sound bright, or dark, or short, or long, this gives you the ability to explore and find joy in the sound design on your synthesizer, and then from there find all the interesting bits that it can do. But to get here, you have to figure out your synth's architecture. And for that, we can take the mental model of the triangle method, where we go from a sequencer into a sound source, in this case a synthesizer, into some effects. The sequencer, you can kind of think of it as like the MIDI notes that it's going to play. How is this synth even going to be triggered? And then once it's triggered, how do you shape the sound design, which is this crossroads of joy? And then realize that that might be complemented by some effects afterwards. Let's also remind ourselves that most synthesis works more or less on a subtractive basis. And what does that mean? Well, that just means that there's some kind of an oscillator going into some kind of a filter, going into some kind of an amplifier. The oscillator is sort of the raw sound. It's a very big piece of information, which gets filtered down by cutting away its frequencies and also gets brought down in volume by the amplifier. And then there are envelopes that affect those and LFOs that affect those. That's the basic architecture of subtractive synthesis. And if you don't know that, perhaps go watch that video first, because that's going to help you enormously to have this architecture already in mind. So this mental model hopefully means that you'll never be lost when exploring your new synthesizer. Let's look at this in practice on a real synthesizer, the Moog Subsequent 37, a classic synthesizer, and see if we can get to the crossroads of joy together. We're going to need a power cable, an audio cable, and a synth duster. Yes, be clean, my pretty. In goes the power, in goes the sound. Turn it on. First of all, we need to get to a point where whenever we want to trigger a note, a sound comes out. That's already on some synthesizers not an obvious proposition, right? On the Moog, for example, one of the things you often need to do is you need to hit the panel button so that the buttons that you're seeing actually reflect the sound that you're going to hear. Otherwise, there might be like a secret patch playing underneath the hood, and we don't want that in this case. So now, the fact that there is some sound coming out means that I can already start accessing the crossroads of joy. I can already think of, can I explore a bright sound? Or a dark sound? Whoa, my subwoofer is exploding right now. A long sound or a short sound. This now gives me the freedom to explore this and taste all the different things that it can do. See, I'm at the crossroads of joy. I know how to orient myself long, short, dark, bright. And then when you think of the architecture, remember that we started at the sequencing part? Well, maybe there's another way of sequencing this, which is maybe with the arpeggiator. I can hit latch so that I don't have to use my hands there anymore. Cool. I can now use my hands on the control panel. And now I can manipulate things with my hands up here, and I can think about the crossroads. Okay, dark to bright. What are the tools at my disposition? Well, I might think about the shape of the oscillator, the raw sound. How bright is the raw sound? In this case, quite dark. And I can choose a brighter raw sound. Even increase it in pitch. It's going to make it even brighter. Then beyond the oscillator, there's also the level of the filter. When you open the filter, things get brighter. When you close the filter, things get darker. That's the filter cutoff, right? You can also change the envelope amount. So every time a note is played, how much does the filter open? It creates often a little sort of plucky transient on the start. And of course you can shape the envelope. A little bit of... See, I'm having fun exploring bright versus dark. Wow. Also, just for fun, I know that this one can also add a second oscillator, which we can put up at a higher pitch. So then when we open up, so bright to dark, I feel like I've kind of got that dialed in. The detuning on this synth is crazy. So yeah, bright to dark, I kind of got it nailed, I would say. Then, short to long, usually has just to do with the envelopes. So you usually look at the envelope, especially of the amplifier, which says A, and the level of the filter. And I can make a nice long sound that never ends, or I can shorten it to make just a little plucky sound. Could sound great maybe in a delay or into a reverb, depending on what your composition needs, depending on what you want to do with it. So I can now play around with different notes and shapes and different features, but always knowing that I can come back to dark, bright, long, short. Alright, I knew this synthesizer, so it was very easy for me to find the Crossroads of Joy on it. Let's instead try a synth that I've never used before. The Roland MC707. A friend of mine gave it to me as a little loan. I have not even opened it. See this. There we go. All right, so pretty much every synthesizer is going to need at least some kind of power supply and some kind of audio output with an instrument cable that just looks like this. It's a tip ring cable, so not a stereo cable, just a single mono cable. Turn it on and we have power. All right, let's figure this thing out together. So remember our model, we have a sequencer into the synthesizer into effects. So first we have to figure out the sequence. How are we going to be triggering notes? How does this thing trigger notes to make literally any sound? My understanding is that we're looking at some kind of a groove box situation. So that just means something that has, I think, 8 different synthesizers inside of it. And there's a big start-stop button. So let's press it and see what happens. Okay, there's a bunch of faders. Let's fade some things up, see if anything happens. No luck. Maybe if I trigger some pads. No luck. Oh. Ah. There's some drums. Okay, we seem to be in some kind of a drum situation, but I believe that there's also synthesizer voices available in this. I hope, otherwise I've made a very stupid tutorial. Aha, okay. So when I select different channels, this is like a drum channel, this is some kind of a synth channel. And I'm triggering notes. I definitely want to have some kind of a sequencer running, or at least a latch so that the notes auto-trigger. I'm not going to be doing this the whole time. There's something called rec to record. Don't know what that's going to do. Oh! Ah! There's a little step sequencer going across here. Okay, instantly, there's a big filter button here, which sets me bright and darken. That's already half the battle. I want a little more control over this though. Okay, I've just cleared this channel. Now I can hit record. What does the mod button do? It adds vibrato. There's so many things like mod wheels, etc., that by default add vibrato, but the amount of times that I actually want vibrato in something is so minuscule. Oh my god. Okay, let's turn that vibrato down. But we've arrived. We can now think of our crossroads of joy. How do I make this sound brighter, darker, longer, shorter? And once I've got control over that, everything is going to become just joyful to explore. Before now, the interface is still stressful because I haven't figured that out. So let's figure it out. Should we do bright or dark first, or long or short? I think long or short is the simplest one, because basically that's going to be the amplifier envelope. Whatever envelope is affecting the amplifier is going to be doing that. So let's find that out. This like bing, bing, bing at the start is freaking crazy. Anyway, probably this menu is going to have something to do with it. No? Sound. There's a bunch of presets. That's fine. Oh, you can like, yeah, it's leaning quite heavily on presets. But like I said, that's not what I'm here to do. Here, let's explore a few just for fun anyway. Pretty sick. If I knew how to explore this synth, I would, for this, immediately try to brighten it, for example. But I don't know how to do that, so we're going to keep working. Or maybe, there it is. Actually kind of cool. Can I easily put in a kick drum, by the way? Okay, that's fun. Now I'm still no closer to making it longer or shorter. How do I figure this out? It says edit, so maybe shift edit. Aha! Yes, here's the little synth engine. Okay, cool. I'm inside. I've hacked into the mainframe. Now that we've figured out how to trigger notes, now we look at the synthesizer. And for the synthesizer, we look at the sound design, and we want to get to a point where we can do short, long, dark, and bright. And for that, our main mental model is going to be subtractive synthesis. We remind ourselves that the oscillator, which is the raw sound, goes into the filter, goes into the amplifier. In the first stage, sometimes it's easier to just leave the filter completely open and figure out how the envelope is affecting the amplifier first. That's going to mostly affect how short and long works. And then when we start to control the filter, we're going to affect bright versus dark. And when we're having fun with this, we can start to explore the synth more fully. So now here, we've got oscillators, probably filters and amplifiers. So we need, yeah, the amp envelope. How are we going to find that? Oh no, we're changing the oscillator. Oh, I can move with these. Oh, that's cool. Ah, yeah, okay, I can go to the amp. Sick. Okay, so there's attack, decay, sustain, and release. That's one of our iconic, tools. Oh, wow. Look at the resolution on this thing. I can twist this for days to cut down the release. We're there. It's doing what I think it should do. Not enjoying the fact that I have to twist this for... Holy moly. Maybe... Okay, if I push it down and rotate it, it goes faster. So long, short. Let's keep the release open. I think it would be great if I could map this to some kind of a macro effect, like this mod. So that if I increase the mod, it becomes long versus short. That would be my favorite thing, honestly. Aha, under the matrix. Filter, attack, decay, release. Wow, here it is. Okay, so for the amplifier, I can set the release. There we go. To the max. So when I open up the mod, I can make it short or long. Nice. That actually works quite well. And then on the amp, should I leave the decay short or long? Unclear. Maybe we should set the sustain to the max. And then this is the shortest it's going to get. Okay. That's fun. So I can then go dark, hopefully. And so with these two knobs, I can control long, short, bright versus dark. Okay, that was a lot of programming to get to the joyful place of interacting with it. This to me is very influential in whether or not I'm going to gel with an instrument, right? Because even though it can technically do things, if the ergonomics of it, if the affordances of it, if the interface of it doesn't invite you to be playful with it, then it's harder, because you need to stay in that crossroads of joy, right? You need to be able to just have fun exploring the sounds. And I believe that this synth has made a very resolute choice in favor of packing infinite amounts of possibilities under the hood, and then inviting you to rely on presets. And arguably the presets sound great. They're very capable because this is a very potent sound design engine. But at the end of the day, all you've got in terms of performance controls are these knobs. Which are quite limited. So then it's up to you to make things interesting. But the shaping of a sound that never changes quickly becomes quite stale to me, becomes a bit fatiguing to listen to. And I need like a quick button to touch to say, okay, I need it to change. And specifically, I need it to change from long to short, bright to dark. And I'm still coming up against the edges of the interface here, which is normal. That's normal. I would love to also change the note length. That's nice. So now if I map the mod also to the decay, then at its shortest, it really is plucky. That's fun. Cool. And so it's not about designing this specific sound, right? The point is that right now I'm at a crossroads of joy, where I'm comfortable enough pulling and pushing this sound in various different directions that I can now have the mental capacity to start exploring what else can this thing do? What's unique about it? What if I wanted to change the MIDI a little bit? What if I wanted to change the octaves? What if I wanted to add multiple oscillators? What types of oscillators are there even? Are there things about the filter that are unique? What kind of LFOs can I turn on to this thing? And then, obviously this thing has 8 of these, so there's 7 more of these that I could add to it. So I can start to explore, okay, how can they interact? Can I make little arpeggios that do call and response to each other? Are there any kind of compositions that I could do where it's interesting when I turn off and on various layers? Or is it just a matter of sometimes adding a kick drum? Maybe adding a kick and a hi-hat. Simple as that. But I was going to get super burnt out on that one sound if I couldn't make it long, short, dark, bright. Does that make sense? I'm going to repeat the process real quick with another sound. Little riff. To work with this thing, we really want to add a preset. So this is meant to be an 808 style bass, but obviously it's being played up way too high. So maybe we can reduce the octave. There we go. Nice. That's fun. So if I hold down Shift, edit the sound, I can go in and do exactly what I did before. And already I'm a little bit more comfortable with it than I was before, thanks to that little bit of exploration that I did. For example, I think I want the release, or maybe the decay a little shorter. Is there any like distortion effects maybe? Yeah, here, saturator, switch on. I want it to go harder. For heaven's sake, there's a mid-side compressor in here. Of all things. Heavy guitar amp. Cool. I like that. Now let me go back and make the release longer. And then now that I've made it too bright with saturation, hopefully the filter will darken it. Kinda. I would have kind of wanted it maybe to go further, but there's more to explore here. There's quite a lot of programming to do if you want this to work, and you gotta then know intellectually what you want to do so that you can then figure out how to program it in the interface. This is a tool that's very technically capable, especially on paper, but interface design wise, it's very brainy. Also, you have to be quite precise to get the sweet spots right. But this is workable. Let's turn it into a bright, short sound. I would increase the octave. Maybe turn off the pitch envelope. Make it really short and bright. Cool. And now let's figure out how to put some kind of delay on there. Kind of cool, kind of cool. Now that we're here, I kind of want to detune it or make it a little bit more ugly somehow. How can we do that? Trying different oscillator styles. Now it's getting fatiguing because it's too bright. So we can always filter it. So the crossroads of joy. The more time we spend at the crossroads of joy, the longer we're going to be invested in exploring our synthesizer and the more we're going to learn how to do with it. And after a while, things are going to become very obvious to you. You're going to understand how your interface works quicker and quicker and quicker as long as you spend some time at the crossroads of joy. So hopefully the crossroads of joy now means that you're never going to be lost when presented with a new synthesizer that you've never used before. If you found this helpful, please leave me a comment below. It really helps with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. If you like the way I teach, maybe go check out one of the courses on my website. What synthesizer are you currently trying to figure out? And are there any problems that you're facing with it? Let me know in the comments. And until next time, stay producing, be good to each other, and take care. Bye-bye.